shocking. Steve Simon just got a first-hand look at the Eala Effect, and the WTA chairman is absolutely stunned by the ticket demand in Cincinnati. A 21-year-old from the Philippines, ranked 20th in the world, has turned a WTA 1000 event into the hottest ticket in town. Nobody expected it to end like this. The same phenomenon that sold out Toronto in 30 minutes has now taken over Ohio. And the tennis establishment is finally realizing what happens when a nation of 110 million people decides to embrace a sport. The phone lines at the Linder Family Tennis Center in Mason, Ohio, had been ringing for days. But it wasn't until Steve Simon, the WTA chairman, arrived in Cincinnati that he fully grasped what was happening. The Eala Effect had officially reached the highest levels of the sport. Simon, who has been at the helm of the WTA since 2015, has seen it all. He led the women's circuit through a $400 million increase in player compensation, navigated the complexities of the pandemic, and oversaw the sport's return to China after a 3-year boycott. But nothing in his decade-long tenure had prepared him for this. A 21-year-old from the Philippines, ranked 20th in the world, had turned a WTA 1000 event into the hottest ticket in town. The ticket demand was unlike anything the tournament had ever experienced. According to tournament organizers, the same phenomenon that had sold out Toronto's Sobeys Stadium in 30 minutes had now taken over Ohio. Filipino fans from across the United States had made the journey to Mason, some driving hours, others flying in from as far away as California to watch their hero compete. We've never seen a player ranked outside the top 5 have this type of effect. Karl Hale, the National Bank Open Tournament director, had told CBC News just days earlier. Now, Cincinnati was experiencing the exact same phenomenon, and Steve Simon was watching it unfold in real time. The WTA chairman had come to Cincinnati to observe the tournament and assess the state of the women's tour as it prepared for the U.S. Open. What he found was a phenomenon that had completely reshaped the traditional tennis landscape. A player who wasn't just filling seats, she was transforming stadiums into celebrations of Filipino pride. Rennae Stubbs, the former doubles world No.1 and coach of Serena Williams, had already warned the rest of the tour about what they were facing. When you're playing Alex Eala, you're not just playing a very good player. You're playing against, I would say, 70% of people who are coming to watch her match are going to be fully against you, Stubbs said on her podcast after witnessing Eala's Toronto run. When you go up against a player like that, you have to mentally prepare yourself for the onslaught of fans. The demand in Cincinnati had reached unprecedented levels. Eala, seeded 17th in the WTA 1000 event, had received a first-round bye for the first time in a tournament of this caliber. And while she waited for her round 2 opponent, the Filipino community had already transformed the Linder Family Tennis Center into the latest outpost of Barangay Eala. The scenes were reminiscent of Toronto, where organizers had to move Eala to center court because the 2,800-seat grandstand was too small to accommodate her fans. In Cincinnati, the same story was unfolding. Philippine flags waved from every corner of the stadium. Custom t-shirts read "Fight, Believe, Represent," and the chants of "Let's go, Alex" echoed through the stands. Steve Simon, who had seen the sport grow in ways few could have imagined during his tenure, was reportedly stunned by what he witnessed. The WTA chairman had committed to a $400 million increase in player compensation and partnered with CVC Capital Partners to accelerate commercial growth. But even he couldn't have predicted that a 21-year-old from the Philippines would become the sport's biggest draw before she'd even won a Grand Slam. "I like that Alex brings a whole new demographic to the WTA tour," Coco Gauff had said. And Simon, watching from the stands, was seeing that demographic in action. The Eala Effect wasn't just a Toronto phenomenon. It wasn't just a Washington phenomenon. It was becoming a global phenomenon. And the WTA chairman was witnessing it firsthand. The question now was, what would the WTA do with this information? Let's talk about the numbers that left Steve Simon absolutely stunned. Because the ticket demand in Cincinnati wasn't just impressive, it was unprecedented. 80%. That's the figure that Washington tournament chairman Mark Ein revealed to reporters after Eala's historic run. Over the last month, more than 80% of the questions that came into our ticketing team were about, when is Alex Eala playing? I'm not exaggerating. That's what the ticketing team reported, Ein said. Think about that. A WTA 500 tournament featuring some of the biggest names in tennis: Jessica Pegula, Naomi Osaka, Venus Williams, Madison Keys, Elina Svitolina, Leylah Fernandez, and 80% of the ticket inquiries were about one player. One player ranked outside the top 20 at the time. This might be the greatest crowd for a Monday final anyone's ever seen, Ein said during the trophy ceremony after Eala's historic win. But what he didn't say was even more revealing. Washington organizers had never experienced a sellout like this before. Then came Toronto. According to Karl Hale, tournament director for the National Bank Open, tickets for Eala's Wednesday night match sold out within 30 minutes. All 10,077 seats at SoBi Stadium vanished almost instantly. The last time the National Bank Open sold out an opening Wednesday? 2 decades ago. Courtesies of Serena Williams. 2 decades, 20 years, and a 21-year-old from the Philippines had matched that feat. We've never seen a player ranked as outside the top 5 have this type of effect, Hale told CBC News. I think her fans were specifically waiting to see when she played. The fans had been waiting for months. According to Hale, the Filipino community in the Greater Toronto area, over 272,000 strong, had been calling tournament offices for weeks. Not days, not hours, weeks. They wanted to know, when does she play? Who does she play? Where does she play? The demand was so overwhelming that tournament organizers were forced to move Eala to center court because the 2,800-seat grandstand was too small to accommodate her fans. Eala had probably sold upwards of 5,000 tickets on her own. Now, Cincinnati was experiencing the exact same phenomenon. Eala, seeded 17th in the WTA 1000 event, received a first-round bye for the first time in a tournament of this caliber. The bye shows how far she has come. Not long ago, she would either be given wild cards or have to play through qualifiers. Now she's a legitimate force who packs venues to the rafters. While the Cincinnati city area's Filipino population is estimated between 100 and 2,000, Ohio is home to nearly 17,000 Filipino Americans who can fill the stands to support Eala. The same scenes that played out in Toronto were about to happen again. Philippine flags waving from every corner of the stadium, custom t-shirts reading "Fight, Believe, Represent," and the chants of "Let's go, Alex," echoing through the stands. It's an honor to represent my country, and I'm super grateful for all the love and recognition I'm getting, Eala beamed. The numbers don't lie. Washington, Toronto, Cincinnati, 3 tournaments, 3 sellouts, 3 cities transformed by the Eala Effect, and Steve Simon was witnessing it firsthand. The warning came from one of the most respected voices in tennis, and it sent shockwaves through the locker room. Rennae Stubbs, the former doubles world one and coach of Serena Williams, had seen it all. She had coached the greatest player of all time. She had competed against legends. She had witnessed every kind of crowd, every kind of pressure, every kind of challenge the sport could throw at a player. But even she had never seen anything quite like the Eala Effect. When you're playing Alex Eala, you're not just playing a very good player. You're playing against, I would say, 70% of people who are coming to watch her match are going to be fully against you, Stubbs said on her podcast after witnessing Eala's Toronto run. 70%. That's the number that has opponents mentally preparing themselves for an experience they've never had before. Because when you step onto the court against Alex Eala, you're not just facing a 21-year-old with a killer forehand and an unshakable mentality. You're facing a stadium full of passionate, vocal, unapologetic Filipino fans who have turned the match into a celebration of identity. Stubbs witnessed it firsthand during Eala's match against Belinda Bencic in Toronto. Bencic would play a great point and it was like crickets, she observed. And that is very unusual even in Canada, because usually they are very fair and quite supportive of both players, and they like to see good tennis. I would say 80% of the crowd were for Alex Eala, maybe more, 80%. The number is staggering, and it's a reality that every opponent must now prepare for. When you go up against a player like that, you have to mentally prepare yourself for the onslaught of fans, Stubbs warned. The warning was particularly timely for Cincinnati. Eala's opponent in the second round, Magda Linette, would have to face not just a top 20 player, but a stadium full of fans who had transformed the Linder Family Tennis Center into Barangay Eala. The Polish veteran, who had stunned Iga Swiatek in the first round, was now facing an entirely different kind of challenge. Stubbs also noted that the new fandom is fundamentally different from traditional tennis crowds. She shared observations from former player Andrea Petkovic and other match commentators, who noted that the Eala fans don't fully understand the sport yet because they're so new to it. The Eala fans don't fully understand the sport of tennis yet because they are so new to it because of the phenomenon of Alex Eala, Stubbs said on her podcast. They are screaming. At times in the middle of the point, they are getting very excited. When I went to China for the first time and they hadn't had tennis there professionally, and even at the Olympics in 2008, they didn't understand tennis etiquette that much. So they would scream out in the middle of the point or say stuff between first and second serves, and it was like, oh my God. They don't understand the etiquette of tennis, and I am all for the excitement. There's nothing more exciting than what we are getting every time she walks on the court. But Stubbs saw the bigger picture. For her, the larger point was clear. Eala is already a significant force for the sport. Alex Eala is going to bring so many young kids to the sport of tennis, and that is only going to make this sport grow even more. The 70% warning wasn't a criticism. It was a reality check. The massive influx of new fans could be helpful to the sport. A fresh, passionate audience that fills stadiums, buys merchandise, and turns tennis tournaments into cultural celebrations. The same phenomenon that had sold out Toronto in 30 minutes and packed Washington stadiums to the rafters was now taking over Cincinnati. And Steve Simon, watching from the stands, was witnessing the future of tennis unfold before his eyes. The warning from Rennae Stubbs wasn't just for the players. It was for the entire tennis establishment. Because when a former world one and coach of Serena Williams tells you that a player is fundamentally changing the sport, you listen. And the players have been listening. Coco Gauff, the world and reigning U.S. Open champion, has become one of Eala's most vocal supporters. I like that Alex brings a whole new demographic to the WTA Tour, Gauff said during the Canadian Open. I think what she's doing for the sport of tennis is great. She's a great role model for people to look up to. What you guys see on camera is who she is off court. That's something I really respect when someone is who they are at all times. The friendship between the two stars has become one of the most talked about storylines on the tour. Just days before Gauff's comments, the two had posted a viral TikTok video together set to Taylor Swift's Endgame that amassed over 2 million views. The video showed a lighter side of both players, a glimpse into the genuine camaraderie that exists between two of the sport's brightest young stars. Jessica Pegula, the world 3 who fell to Eala in the Washington final, has been even more direct. I played her when she kind of broke out last year in Miami. I'm from there. The whole crowd was against me, Pegula said. I was like, what on earth is going on? Where did these people come from? Her words captured the bewilderment that many players feel when they step onto the court against Eala, a sense of being overwhelmed by a phenomenon they can't fully explain. But Pegula also acknowledged the bigger picture. To all the Filipino fans who came out and supported, you guys are helping grow tennis around the world, she said after the Washington final. Being a female athlete, being in tennis, we love to see that growth. Naomi Osaka, the 4-time Grand Slam champion, has called Eala the future of the tour after falling to her in Washington. When a legend like Osaka says that, the message is clear. This isn't just a hot streak. This is a changing of the guard. Belinda Bencic, who ended Eala's Toronto run, acknowledged the crowd during her post-match interview. I know most of you guys were cheering for Alex, but I still have to say it was very nice to play in front of you all. Thank you so much for the great crowd tonight, she said. Caddy McNally, who lost to Eala in Toronto, took to Instagram to express her gratitude. Toronto, last night was unforgettable. The atmosphere out there was absolutely electrifying, she wrote. Beyond thankful for all the love and kind messages received from people all around the world, but especially the Filipinos. The players are taking notice because the phenomenon is impossible to ignore. Eala's fans don't just fill seats, they transform stadiums. They turn quiet, polite tennis matches into celebrations of identity, culture, and pride. And that's something the sport has never seen before. The Eala Effect has officially reached the highest levels of tennis, and the players are talking about it. And so we arrive at the question that Steve Simon, the WTA chairman, and every tennis executive in the world are now asking themselves. What does the Eala Effect mean for the future of the WTA? The answer is both exhilarating and unsettling, because what Alex Eala has created is something the sport has never seen before. A phenomenon that has rewritten the rules of what a tennis star can be. A movement that has transformed quiet, polite tennis matches into celebrations of identity, culture, and pride. Alex Eala is going to bring so many young kids to the sport of tennis, and that is only going to make this sport grow even more, Rennae Stubbs had said. And she wasn't wrong. The Eala Effect isn't just about filling stadiums. It's about building a legacy. A legacy that will inspire the next generation of Filipino athletes. A legacy that will remind the world that tennis belongs to everyone. The numbers that keep breaking records. The crowds that transform stadiums. The players who are taking notice. All of it points to one undeniable truth. The WTA has found a superstar. And that superstar isn't a Grand Slam champion. She isn't even in the top 10. She's a 21-year-old from the Philippines, ranked 20th in the world, who has turned tennis into the hottest ticket in town. When you're playing Alex Eala, you're not just playing a very good player. You're playing against, I would say, 70% of people who are coming to watch her match are going to be fully against you, Stubbs had warned. That's the reality that every opponent now faces. And it's the reality that the WTA has to embrace. Stubbs also noted a critical point for the tour to consider. The Eala fan base is fundamentally new to the sport. They don't really understand the sport of tennis yet, because they are so new to it because of the phenomenon of Alex Eala, she observed. They are screaming at times in the middle of the point. They are getting very excited. But instead of criticizing, Stubbs recognized the opportunity. I am all for the excitement. There is nothing more exciting than what we are getting every time she walks on the court. The WTA has a choice. Embrace this new energy, this new audience, this new phenomenon, or cling to tradition, to silence, to the old ways. The answer will determine the future of the sport. Because Eala isn't just a player, she's a movement. A symbol of what tennis can become when it opens its doors to new communities, new cultures, new voices. The Cincinnati demand was just the latest chapter in a story that is only beginning. The US Open will be the next, and after that, the Singapore Open, the Asian Games, and everything else that comes after. The tennis world is stunned, the Filipinos are roaring, and Alex Eala is just getting started. So the question remains, is the tennis establishment ready for the Eala Effect, or will they be left behind? If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Eala Effect, and what it means for the future of the WTA, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more sports drama and controversy. Drop a comment below. Is the WTA ready for the Eala Effect, or will the sport struggle to keep up with its own future? Let us know.